The automation built into PhotoKey means that for most images, the green screen is removed instantly without any effort on your part. But PhotoKey is also equipped with a complete set of tools to adjust the key, which enables you to get superior results even with problematic images. I'm Axel Wilkinson for FX Home, and I'm going to demonstrate these tools in PhotoKey 6 Pro, but the standard version of PhotoKey 6 features all of these same tools. At the heart of the key tool set are two main tools, the Auto Chroma Key and the Auto Color Difference Key. You can use one or the other on any image. Auto Chroma Key, which is the default, will provide excellent results on most images, but also provides a great deal of adjustment if it is needed. Chroma keying allows you to select nearly any color for removal from the image, the exceptions being black, white, or neutral grays. Auto Color Difference Keying compares the red, green, and blue color channels of your image to isolate the background. This makes keying simple on high-quality images with pure green or blue backgrounds, but those are the only colors which you can remove. So, if the default settings aren't accurately keying an image and you need to make adjustments, a good first step is to compare the chroma keying and the color difference keying and see which one gives you the best starting point, and then you can adjust things further as needed. When adjusting the key, the foreground alpha view is extremely useful, as it allows you to see exactly what is being removed without the colors of the image distracting you. In alpha view, transparent areas are black, opaque areas are white, and anything in between will be gray. The darker the gray, the more transparent the area is. Regularly using both the alpha and full color views ensures that you get the most accurate key possible. But at the end of the day, really the full color view is what matters the most. Chroma keying is more versatile and more powerful than color difference keying, and is the default mode in PhotoKey 6 because it usually gives the best results. There are several views available within the Chroma Key tool as well. Result shows you the actual image after keying. Matte is equivalent to the foreground alpha view in the top menu. Status is similar to matte, but shows every transparent pixel as a medium gray, making it much easier to notice subtle flaws in the key. For example, if you see all of this gray over here, when we're in matte view, you have to look closely to notice that that's there. So the status view can often help to ensure you get the cleanest key possible. So when adjustments are required on an image, I'll usually approach the controls of the chroma key in a specific order. First, I will turn on adaptive color, which re-examines the edges of your key to try and improve the detail there. Since this is just a toggle, it's very quick to see which option works better for your image. Next, I'll shift the balance and hue balance sliders all the way to either end. Usually I'll use the matte view for this. Then I'll just check each end of the slider. Here for the balance, the left end looks better, and for the hue balance, I think the right end looks better there, so I'll leave that one where it started as well. Just see which end gives the best results and go with that. If the key is very close at this point, then I might use the clip background and clip foreground sliders to clean the image up. There we go. Now we can switch to the result view, and that looks pretty good. If I'm working with an image that requires much more dramatic adjustments, then my process will be slightly different. I'm still going to start by turning on adaptive color. You can see how we're losing quite a bit of the transparency in these areas with adaptive color on, so that's good. Then I'll try adjusting the balance, adjust the hue balance. And on this image, the hue balance is giving better results on the left, so we'll just slide that over there. But we still have quite a bit of adjustment needed in this lag, so I won't go immediately to the clip sliders for that. I'll adjust the gain next to try and restore as much of this transparent area as I can. Now if I go too far, you can see I introduce a lot of the background, which we don't want. So you want to just find the balance of restoring the foreground as much as you can without introducing too much background. Now I'll go down to the gamma slider and see if I can improve things further with that. Now we've dramatically improved the key in this area of the legs. So now that we've got that foreground alpha as close as we can with the gain and gamma, we can clip the foreground and background further using these sliders to clean things up. Clip background pushes the darker grays in your alpha farther toward black. Clip foreground pushes the lighter grays toward white. So we can use these sliders to very quickly remove any unwanted transparency and clean up our key. Now if we switch back to our result view, things are looking much, much better. If you have areas in your foreground that need to be transparent, such as the veil in our previous image, then the clip rollback slider can help you to feather those areas back in. To demonstrate that, I'm going to just crank this clip foreground way down so that we've removed a lot of that transparency. And then the clip rollback slider lets us just restore some of that transparency that was removed with the clip foreground slider gradually working in from the edge. The erode expand slider allows you to shift the edge of your foreground in either direction. So if you end up with a bit of an edge on your subject, for example, on the edges of this white uniform, you can see there's a bit of a gray line there. And so you can erode that line away by using this slider. Erode is to the left, expand is to the right. So if we want to just erode a few pixels off, you can see how we can very easily remove that line from the edge of our subject to get a nice clean key. Of course, if we adjust this the other way, we add area onto our subject. Now this is the green screen, but it's showing up as gray because we have spill suppression on. We'll get into that later. I'm going to reset this. You can just right click on any individual slider to reset it and move on to the edge color controls. If you have fine edge detail on your subject which might be damaged by the erode tool, then the edge color controls give us an alternate way to handle a line if one should appear on the edge of your subject. Subtract will examine any areas containing partial transparency and remove any traces of the background color from those areas. This can be effective for subjects that are meant to be transparent, like glass. The recover slider modifies the color of the edge pixels based on the surrounding color. So if we turn this up, you can see that that line has been removed once again, but this time, instead of cutting those pixels away, PhotoKey is intelligently changing their color based on the surrounding colors in the image. So here around the white pants, those edge pixels will be replaced with white. Up here on the blue sleeve, they'll be replaced with blue. And over here on the bat, those edge pixels will be replaced by the color of the wood. If you ever have an image where the auto system removes the wrong color, or if you just want complete manual control, you can always manually select a specific color to be removed by clicking on the eyedropper and just dragging onto your image to select a color. So here we can select the green. We could select the blue and key out the blue areas. As we mentioned, you can remove pretty much any color except for neutrals like white, black, and gray. All right, so at any point, if you want to switch back to the auto settings, you can just click the box next to auto here, and we'll go back to the auto settings. Typically, the auto system does a very good job of selecting the correct color to remove. All right, let's switch to the auto color difference key. This key is quite simple to adjust as there are only 4 controls. The first is the color menu, where you can manually select a color or just let it automatically detect the color, which usually works just fine. And then the other 3 controls are removal, which controls the range of green that is being removed. Let's switch to the foreground alpha view. You can see as I bring this down that less of the green screen is being removed until eventually we're not removing anything. So if you find that parts of your subject are being removed that shouldn't be, you can try reducing the removal setting to restore them. For example, we have a little bit of transparency here that shouldn't really be there. So we can reduce the removal setting to restore those areas somewhat. If not all of the green screen is being removed, try decreasing the detail slider, and we can try get rid of these areas here in the corners. The softness control helps fine-tune the edge of the removed area by adding feathering in. So for example, here we've added quite a bit of opacity into this veil, and by adjusting the softness slider, we can control how much transparency is present in those areas. Now this applies directly to any areas that have been altered by the removal slider. So if the removal's at 100%, the softness slider doesn't really do much. If we crank this right down, then you can really see how the softness slider affects those edges. Okay, I'll set that back to where we had it. And now if we switch back to full color view, you can see we got a decent key on that image using the auto color difference key as well. Now, if you find that the adjustments in the color difference key don't offer quite enough range, if we switch to foreground alpha, you can see there's quite a bit of the background still present. And so we can try remove that, but we don't make much headway in adjusting these sliders. So if you have a case like that, where you just can't adjust things far enough, you can push things even further by using the Alpha Levels tool. Now this is very similar to the Clip Background and Clip Foreground sliders in the Chroma Key tool. We can eliminate gray within the black areas of our image by increasing the black slider. And we can eliminate gray in the white areas by bringing the white slider down. So the Alpha Levels tool can come in very handy in conjunction with the Auto Color Difference key. After these two main keying tools, color difference and chroma keying, perhaps the most important tool in the key tool set is spill suppression. Even high-quality green screen photography can often contain green spill, where light is reflected off the green background onto the edges of your subject, causing a color shift. Spill suppression helps you to restore accurate color to your image. The first menu determines whether the spill suppression will be applied before or after any masks you're using. To demonstrate that, let me turn on a mask which I've created here. And if I set this to before masks, you can see that inside the mask shape, the original green color remains, and those colors are unaffected, whereas if we set this to after masks, that green is removed or suppressed so that we end up with neutral colors inside that mask. The second menu, the spill method, gives you several options, each of which will have different controls in the lower portion of the screen. The default method, because it's the most effective and the most powerful, is spill simulation. The range of controls in this tool enable you to retain accurate color in almost any situation. The key to ensuring accurate color is the View menu. The Despill Map view allows you to see exactly which areas of your image will be affected by spill suppression. Using this view, you can adjust the Hue Range, Balance, and Hue Balance sliders until only the areas that contain green spill are not black. The closer to white an area is in this view, the more it will be affected by spill suppression. For example, if I turn spill suppression off, you can see how much green is still present in the veil of this image. And so that's what we want to remove, is those last remaining bits of green. In this image, as with most images, the default settings do a great job of suppressing that already. But if you need to adjust what areas are affected, these sliders let you do so. So you can see here, if we turn that up too much, we'd be affecting areas of the image that we don't want to. Same with here, we're getting areas of a different color, but again, that would be too much spill suppression. So you want to adjust these controls to isolate only the areas that you want to be affected by the spill suppression. Spill simulation works by isolating whatever green remains in your image and replacing it with any color you specify. The default color for the replacement is a neutral gray, which works well in many situations, but you can also choose a different color. Selecting a prominent color from your background can often help add realism. As was discussed, green spill, if I turn this off, this green is being reflected onto his legs because he's standing on the green screen. If he was standing on this blue background, then we would naturally have blue reflected onto his pant legs there. So to simulate that, we can use the eyedropper to select a color from the background to use as the replacement. Now you can see that blue is clearly reflected into his clothing, which makes for a more realistic composite than the green did. The luminance slider controls the lightness of the spill replacement in those selected areas. So depending on what background you're using, this could help further enhance the realism as well. Okay, getting back to the spill method menu, Standard and Extended are very simple options which basically work as presets. The only control they have is a strength slider to control how much the adjusted colors are mixed with the original colors. Standard focuses on accurately reproducing yellows, reds, and skin tones. Extended focuses on accurately reproducing blues and purples. Advanced is the one option in the keying tool set that is available only in PhotoKey 6 Pro. This is not in the standard version. And it basically just gives you control over how the spill is applied to each color channel of the image. So here we have this green present, and we can just reduce the green slider to remove that. So for some images, using standard or extended might be a very quick way to get good results. But if you notice unacceptable color shifts from those options, then spill simulation is the way to go for accurate color. Light wrap is very useful for adding realism to your composites. Because the surroundings will always have a direct effect on the lighting of your subject, then any bright background you use in your image should lighten the edges of your subject. The bright light behind them wraps around the edges of your subject, which is where light wrap gets its name. So size defines in pixels the width of the area around the edge of the image which will be affected. So as I increase this, you can see how the edges of our foreground are affected and how we're just making that bright area along the edge wider with that size slider. In general, the brighter the background, the larger the size. We're selecting a strip all the way around the edge of our foreground, which will always feather toward the middle. And light wrap will then take the area of the background that's immediately behind that border that we're creating and mix it into the foreground using the blend mode that we select. Lighten is the default and works well for most typical backgrounds. For very bright backgrounds, screen or add sometimes work better. For darker backgrounds, soft light can sometimes be effective, if you need to actually darken the edges of your subject. Okay, there are a few additional tools in the Key tool set, which aren't used as often, but can be quite helpful in certain situations. Red eye is generally caused by using the built-in flash in your camera, which you should always avoid, especially for green screen photography. But if you do need to process an image that has red eye issues, this tool can help you correct that. UV blur is helpful in some situations where the edge of your image comes out a bit rough or pixelated, and you can just apply a blur, which doesn't actually blur your image, but just has the result of smoothing the edges of your key. Usually with images from modern high-resolution cameras, you aren't likely to need this tool, but if you're working with low-res images, then it might come in handy. Erode trims the edge of your subject, moving it in toward the center 1 pixel at a time, similar to the Erode Expand slider in the Chroma Key tool, which we looked at earlier. So as we increase this, you can see that we're just trimming the edge of our foreground in and removing pixels. This can help in cases where a dark line appears on the edge of your subject, particularly if you're using the Auto Color Difference key. Alpha Blur applies a blur to the matte or alpha channel of your image, which has the result of softening edges. And the Crop tool quickly remove unwanted areas from your foreground. Example, in this image of the baseball player, we can see part of the studio here along the edge, where we can see past the edge of our green screen. And we could draw a mask around that to remove it, but the Crop tool makes that even simpler. We can trim the left edge of our foreground by just bringing that Crop tool in to remove that unwanted area. You can do this on any of the 4 edges of your image. Note that this doesn't crop the size or shape of the canvas. It only affects the alpha channel of your foreground image. So if you have walls or light stands visible in your shot, you can quickly remove these without the need of masks by simply cropping them out. And there you have it. Usually, most of the tools in this tool set are not required. Typically, the default settings will do a great job of keying your image, but it is nice to know that when problem images present themselves, PhotoKey has all the power you need to still deliver stunning results. Once again, I'm Axel Wilkinson for fxhome.com, and thank you very much for watching.